Okay. What up? What up? Much peace, much respect. Stay bright to all the people out there. Happy 420. High grade flowers only. It's your host, Amadeus Smokeside, aka Sunray, up in effect. It's been a while, but I was definitely triggered by today's course of events to come up and do a impromptu stream. Obviously, if you can see in the description, the 420 and the celebration of the flowers is something which we need to highlight, and I do wish to uh, advocate, celebrate the plant in all its glory. But yeah, basically to stay on topic and where I'm at, I'm really at a kind of very weird position at the moment. Like earlier today, I was online on stream. People were talking about the Derek Chauvin trial verdict. You know, there was a lot of sort of uplifting vibes amongst the community to firstly see a verdict of such kind. Like, this is the first of its kind. Well, not the first of its kind, but maybe. But like, I mean, for all three counts to be found guilty of a police officer, many people in the institution itself were at the trial, um, kind of, amplifying the fact that there was definite excessive force and the amount of time which he had lent on his neck led to the death. And there was all sorts of stuff. I mean, I don't want to go I don't want to open up scars and things like this for people, but I didn't really get too involved into the case. But one things I did hear, there was also the allegations of fentanyl being in a system and may have been a cause of due to George Floyd's death. But I did see another specialist come up there and speak about like fentanyl is a very, very, very strong opiate, sedative, painkiller type narcotic, and it would lead to a depression of your breathing rate, right? This is why most people overdose and die. But there was a clip I saw which easily saw, I mean, which highlighted the fact that just during the trial, the specialist was there. They showed he did some sort of count. It was like, if the a person is able to breathe seven, no, well, it was 10 to 20. I think the average is 12 to 20 breaths in the space of the I think the time spans. I think it was about a minute. You would take a time sample and then see how many breaths occur in that, and then you just multiply it out. Um, but then this obviously showed that he took ample amount. He had an ample amount of oxygen and breath capacity, um, which was not affected by fentanyl or any opiate at all. So that's just one great thing. So now obviously that news has come about. Obviously, people are still a little bit in the state of their own minds. They're not sure where to go because I mean even myself, because the sentencing is still yet to be handed down. Appeals are yet to be made, which is most likely very likely occurrence. So there could be there's still a fair way to go. But yeah, it was greatness to hear the what we heard, to hear that. I don't know, it gave a bit of uplifting. But then this is the reason I'm up here now. I just was on another stream and basically the news that was given was so upsetting and shocking. There was like, rest in peace, rise in power, beautiful blessings to this child's entity, celebrate her life. I mean, I'm sure you guys will hear of this story in the near future. It's very, very fresh. Only seems to be a few hours after the verdict occurred, but in Columbus, I think. Um, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, there was a fatal shooting of Makiyah Bryant, a 15-year-old child, female, who actually called the police herself to the scene where she was being accosted or in fear. She was in fear of her safety from a number of adults, female adults that were surrounding her. So I think that was the reason for her calling. But tragically, the police officers arrived, and it's ended up with four shots being fired at this child, and she has lost her life. Um, and amongst that, to top that off, there was another instance. Forgive me, and I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up later, but it's just the gentleman's name. But he was inside the police institution in the booking area. Now, it is the duty of the officers to have searched the suspect before taking into custody, right, for any illegal substance or any dangerous weapons or anything of such nature. Before he gets into custody, they need to do that. Now, he was at the booking station, um, and basically they, were patting him down. Two officers he'd already been handcuffed. He's inside a police institution, and they find a firearm. Now, he is not resisting at all. The situation escalates dramatically. The police get erratic. They start getting very violent, and he's saying, that you can hear things like, he's being accosted on his genitals by the officers from the suspect. It then actually eventuates into more officers coming into the room, and then this gentleman being shot. Which what I saw was basically I saw there was numerous officers with different firearms shooting at this gentleman, yelling, continuing to yell at him to raise his arm, and he was actually very calm. But he was unable to do so, saying, "I'm unable to do so. I'm trying to put my hands up. If I release my hands, I'm scared you'll shoot me." And they were just saying, continuing to yell and yell, like very, very, very unprofessional and just like aggressive behavior. So yeah, and it seemed as though one of the officers actually emptied his clip and was to then reload. This is all inside an institution, so I mean, this is hours after the supposed great verdict that has come down, and even the president of the U.S.A.'s said his little speech. I did hear somewhat of his speech, but to what effect it will have and how much sincerity and the strength behind it, we'll yet to see. So I mean, it's just something that it got me up. It's got me kind of wild and in a space of like just kind of lost, like what's going on, what is happening, man. Like, so like one shout out here to one whole gal. Thanks for joining. I'll drop this thing if you guys wanted to like say your piece. More than welcome to come up. But yeah, like happy 420 if you're an advocate out there and you love that herb. and the high grade flowers, man. That's what it's all about. Getting your mind straight, linking with like minds. Um, but yeah, like it's just it's really blown my mind away. Like and over here we've got similar. I mean, this is for the overseas. I mean, I'm in Australia, but the viewers who are abroad, we are. I mean, we do face similar issues worldwide, and like I mentioned that in 1991, we had a royal commission. The federal government issued that into the Indigenous deaths in custody. So from that time, and from that what was it from the commit or from that investigation, sorry, they found that there was definite injustices, disparages, and things needed to be changed. Something needed to be done about the system, about the attitude within the system, and the hierarchy of the police force and the prison system. That not much really did occur in changes since that date of 1991. There has been 430 plus deaths of Indigenous while in police custody, which equates to approximately one per month continually since 1991 to this day. So that's horrendous. Imagine the amount of families that have lost young children, the mothers, the fathers, the sons, the uncles, the nephew, the niece. And it's just continually going on. And then basically, there's another reason why I got up to do this. I was looking around, and there's some people that are argumentative against that number and feel as though that's disproportionate. And if you were to argue up against that fact, you are the racist one to say there is a problem is to be racial in itself. When I mean, that really fired me up and triggered me. I mean, obviously you've got your opinion to your opinion, but hey, it's quite obvious that, and when they put out unfair facts and statistics and bias against that, like, I won't, there is no excuse. I won't give it, there is no excuse, like, and that's right. It's kind of like there's time enough and you're sick and tired of it now, like to accentuate and keep going on with this narrative and try and embellish these things and like make it seem such way that everything is all right. And if we are to stand up against the system or just have our own opinion and stand up against it and have our viewpoints, which our kind of inner instincts do tell us. And if you're a son or a child or a nephew, any relative of somebody who was to die, lose their life in such circumstance at the hands of an authority figure, or even in any situation, I'm sure you would be kind of, you would have an opinion to say about it, and so they're very rightful to get up there and do what they do, and more power to these people. And I think we do need more power to these people. We don't like the amount of confusion and that continues without unity. You're not going to please everybody. That's understood. You got to find what your skills are, what's about like, and who, and how you can just, this is life, right? I don't have all the answers, obviously, but like you want to just be the best you can be. Don't stay in harmony with human nature and the earth as much as possible, so you can have longevity. So, and to continue all that. So I mean, like, it's heavy and it's deep. Like, so I mean, and another point would be, I'd like to point out the people of in such positions of parliament who are now trying to act as though they're all friendly towards the BLM cause or the indigenous cause or civil rights. I don't think, there's not much sincerity in it, in the sense that I find they're still on the suit and tie. It still seems to be the elderly old man with white hair who then, to me, generationally, would not be far away. It would only be a few generations, like his grandfather or great grandfather, most likely would have benefited from indentured labor or indentured servitude, or prior to that, slavery, and gaining economic advantage, growing their business, establishing their brand, their name as to where it stands today, and then to then just let go of all harness. I mean, and try and turn around and say we must live peacefully, because really the whole society has been born on blood, rape, pillage. That goes for all Western society, from the crown, all the kingdoms and royalties of Europe, in Australia, in the U.S., in all the colonies. There was rape, pillage, murder to the extreme, and you know, harsh, atrocious living conditions. These people were building up the economy for these people. They weren't allowed to read for centuries, generations, and now these are the people. This is what I'm trying to like. So generationally, these are the ancestral lineage of somewhat, in somewhat way. These are the people still sitting in parliament or high positions of these corporations, which are now today having a massive sway in the way things are done. I mean, mass marketing and um, even in itself, like today I was watching streaming on YouTube, and basically there's ads coming, and I'm not sure if people remember when advertising was on television. The adverts used to be like somewhat higher volume than the main story. I was really finding that's happening now. That'd be, with me, I'm very much into the music, so I could say that they are recording and mastering these ads at like 3 decibel, like, a few decibels higher, just so. And it's kind of the same thing that happened when I was a, in um, what would you under, I don't know, under 10 years old, like I'm in primary school and things like that. Just at home, I would just take notice of that, how the ads would just come on, um, to try and just, what's that, brainwash you into marketing and just really enforce the message across. And it's happening now with internet. Like, they would say it would be ad free. Pay TV said was ad free, but now there's plenty of ads. Same thing going on here. So it's just a slow leaking um, of the system. They're, yeah, slowly just letting things flow out, letting things flow out into the mainstream and see how we handle it. And then from there, obviously, they have years of practice on this, so they can kind of predict the behavior, and they would have obviously had a plan and a prediction, but they can't get it absolutely 100% on point every time. That's kind of an impossibility. That's obviously their choice. I hope that that's kind of sad. But off that point, like this, so hopefully people will remember that. Remember the names. I'll try and bring up the gentleman that was who lost who passed away in custody. It's obviously people, or if you're not, I don't know, most people will be aware of Dante, right? Um, who lost his life in a traffic stop with the officer, female officer, allegedly uh, thinking she's grabbing a taser to shock the man with electric bolts, but grabbed a piece of an item which is, obviously probably like the taser would weigh somewhere between, a few hundred grams, and the firearm would surely weigh a few kilos. So there's a big difference there. But she actually mistook that for a taser, according to her testimony, and shot the man in the stomach or in the chest, and he proceeded, well, he died due to the um, shot from the gunshot. So that's not the one I was looking for, but I'll just give me a second and I'll try and come up, see if I can find it. Kind of new, so I don't know. 5 days ago. Yeah, okay, so there was this Miles Jackson. See if I could. Good here. Going to here. Okay. So if you could see it, should be good. Oh, okay. Alright, so body cam footage shows a hired man killed by police after struggle in hospital. Miles Jackson killed after officers conducted a pat down and found gun in his waistband, prompting standoff inside hospital room. Okay, so it's actually the hospital, not the police station, but still, he should have. It's just not the protocol. But anyway, I'll continue. Officers conducting a routine pat down of a man in a hospital emergency room found a gun in his waistband, spurring a struggle over the weapon and a standoff that ended in officers killing him. According to police body camera footage released on Wednesday, officers had been searching Miles Jackson at the hospital. Why would they mention that? Why would they mention a black man? But anyway, come on. I would say it because it's there and this is what's in the report, but I wanted to overlook that. At the hospital on Monday in preparation for a custody exchange over warrants he had out for his arrest. Jackson began to struggle with the two officers after one of them felt the gun, video showed. One of the officers used a stun gun on Jackson after they fell to the floor, while the other attempted to pull Jackson's hands away from his waistband. A shot can be heard in the video, apparently from the gun in Jackson's waistband. The officer who stunned Jackson took cover outside the room. The other officer appeared to return fire at Jackson once before taking cover behind a hospital bed, video showed. Officers shouted for minutes at Jackson, who was 27 years of age, to raise his hands and put them on his head. That's what I was basically explaining before. Jackson seemed very, very calm there, saying, look, he wasn't resisting. He's like, I'm trying to do what I'm trying to get my hands up. If people would view the video, I might play it later. But if you get time to view it yourself, you'll see. And the amount of aggression and just tension and like authoritativeness, trying to assert authority of these policemen. It's quite disgusting. Shows that they had no control of the situation, and for them to, they were, I didn't even want to repeat it. It was disgusting anyway. To raise their hand and put it on his head. An officer eventually used the stun gun for a second time on Jackson, who was on his side on the hospital room floor. Another shot can be heard in the video before officers opened fire. Jackson died in the shooting at Mount Carmel St. Anne's Hospital in suburban Columbus. Oh, in Columbus. Okay, so forgive me for my geographics before. Jackson had apparently been brought to the hospital earlier that day, walked away, and then was found in a nearby bank parking lot. Before Jackson was taken back to the hospital, a Westerville officer patted him down briefly, according to footage from the officer's body cam video. So there is where basically, exactly as I was mentioning, before taken into custody and at the time of the suspect's kind of detainment or whatnot, this Westerville officer should have done not well. Yeah, his job he did not do his job properly. Like they should have found all illegal substances, anything that's was not to be there, or a dangerous weapon or whatnot. But obviously that wasn't the case, and it had to kind of turn out in the way it did. In inverted commas here, I'm just going to pat you down real quick. Make sure you ain't got nothing on you, right? No weapons, nothing like that, the officer said. Jackson repeatedly asked for a cigarette, saying he had anxiety. Columbus police were called to the hospital because Jackson had outstanding warrants in the city. Once Jackson was in a room in the hospital's emergency room, an officer briefly handcuffed his left hand to a hospital bed. A few minutes later, an officer removed the handcuff and began collecting Jackson's property. In inverted commas, you don't have nothing sharp in your pockets, do you? The officer asked. Hopefully somebody would have caught that earlier. About a minute later, a bullet dropped from Jackson's pants. In inverted commas, got a little bullet action, the officer said calmly as he picked it up. In inverted commas, don't see people carrying those around every day. Within the next minute, the officer told his fellow officer to get Jackson's arm around him. He's got a gun, the officer said. Over about 3 minutes, officers outside the room shouted dozens of commands at Jackson lying on the floor to put his right hand over his head with his left hand. One Columbus officer was still in the room behind the bed with his gun pointed in Jackson's direction, video showed. I'm just scared, guys, in inverted commas, Jackson said at one point. Later, he said, so if I move, you're not going to shoot me. They're not going to shoot me. See, he was scared for his life. He also told officers he wasn't going to do anything and that he was leaning on his right hand. A police officer instructed Jackson again to raise his right hand. In inverted commas, slowly put your right hand up in the air. Slowly, she said. And that was not like that. It was yelled. It was aggressively yelled at him. When Jackson said he was putting the gun down, the officer replied, do not touch the gun. Let go of the gun and put both of your hands up over your head. The second use of the stun gun, the shot, and then the police shooting erupted within seconds after her orders, the video showed. On Wednesday, Westerville's police chief placed the two officers who initially came into contact with Jackson on administrative leave. He told residents that if policy violations are found, there will be an appropriate level of accountability. Westerville officers Eric Everhart and David Lambert, who are both white, will be on leave while an internal investigation into the shooting is conducted, the department said. But the department's investigation cannot overlap or interfere with the independent investigation the Attorney General, David Yost, is conducting, Charles said. So it will be on hold until that is completed. Columbus police identified the officers in the shooting as Andrew Howe and Ryan Crickbaum, both 15-year veterans of the agency. It continues on for a while. But even here saying that, like, why are they engaging the audience with these the vocabulary that is used, saying that Miles Jackson, comma, a black man, comma. So that's just pointing out there, and then to say that the two officers were white men. I mean, that's kind of agitating in itself and aggravating, because the whole point is that the individual officers who had been trained, under some sort of system, and had passed this level of training supposedly and been given dangerous weapons, and the authority to arrest people, have gone and they couldn't handle the situation, and have this man has lost his life. Um, so yeah, it's upsetting to me, very upsetting. Um, but it's kind of like I'm only up here now doing it because of waking up today. We have 420 over in Australia yesterday, but obviously around the world, somewhere other places around the world, 420. So happy today. I'm Ganja advocate mad, but and then we hear the trial verdict of the Derek Chauvin, and that had been something that's been going on for weeks, and I was continuing over Sky. Why is it taking so long? Basically, there was a bit of celebration, but then now it's all kind of back down again. The level of within the community, people must be very upset. So this was the other thing I was coming up in. Wow, holy moly! Were they both in Columbus? Like, phew, man. Okay, so 2 hours ago, this is what the Guardian is reporting. Same thing. So as I was speaking of, 15-year-old girl, beautiful child, innocent, doesn't experience life at all, and to go through and then tragically lose her life. The family left, but I'm sure you guys will hear about it. But I just heard about it, and I was very shocked and just wanted to get someone across. But so I'll just read this quickly. So, well, okay. Police fatally shoot 15-year-old girl in Columbus, Ohio. Officers responding to an attempted stabbing call shot Makiyah Bryant just before judge delivers a guilty verdict in Derek Chauvin trial. Chauvin trial. Wow. Is it all part of the media's plot, to just they place these stories in a succession of time of its timeline, um, to lead to predictive behavior. But anyway, police in Columbus, Ohio, fatally shot a 15-year-old girl on Tuesday afternoon, just moments before Derek Chauvin was found guilty of murdering George Floyd. The girl was identified by local media as Makiyah Bryant. Officers were responding to an attempted stabbing call, and when police arrived, shot the girl around 4:45 p.m., officials said. The 911 caller reported a female was trying to stab them before hanging up, they said. Hazel Bryant, who identified herself as the girl's aunt, told the Columbus Dispatch that she lived in a nearby foster home. According to the dispatch, Bryant said the teen got into a dispute with someone else at the foster home, and that her niece had a knife but dropped it before being shot multiple times by an officer. Wow. The girl was taken to a hospital where she was pronounced dead. Nobody else was injured, the newspaper reported. Releasing police body cam video of Tuesday's shooting in Ohio's capital hours later, the interim Columbus police chief, Michael Woods, said officers were answering an emergency 911 call from someone who reported an attempted stabbing. Police arriving at the home encountered several people on a front lawn of a house where the female youth seen brandishing what appeared to be knife was charging towards another female who fell backwards, the video showed. A police officer then opened fire on the youth as she collapsed against a car parked in the driveway. The video then shows what appears to be a kitchen knife lying on the pavement near the teenager. Uh, One thing before I continue, and one I don't think I'll show you the video footage, but I'm sure you'll probably end up seeing it. One thing that struck me was the calmness, the calm, absolute calm nature of the officer who had just let out shots and has laid out this innocent young girl, a 15-year-old girl. She's leaking on the driveway. The family is all around. And he's not at all breathing heavy in the sense of like shock or worry, or he doesn't even call a shot in. I don't think like shot in, like it was very kind of eerie to me. It was just like, yeah, he was used to that, and he was kind of he had no remorse for it, nothing. Didn't even want to find out what was going on. But anyway, you guys will see it, and you can have your own opinion of it as well. But um, it's very early, very just breaking news. So a police officer then opened fire on a whoop, yeah, wait. Okay, so then the shooting, which took place approximately 25 minutes before the judge handed down the guilty verdict against Chauvin, cast a shadow over the celebrations across the country that followed the trial's conclusion. A crowd of protesters gathered Tuesday night at the scene on Legion Lane, which police had partially blocked off to traffic, while other demonstrators rallied at the city's police headquarters. In inverted commas, we don't get to celebrate nothing, said Casey Trainer, one of the demonstrators who spoke with Dispatch. Inverted commas, in the end, you know what? You can't be black. Kimberly Shepard, 50, who had lived in the neighborhood for 17 years, said she knew the victim. The neighborhood had definitely went through its changes, but nothing like this, Shepard said of the shooting. But this is the worst thing that has ever happened out here, and unfortunately, it is at the hands of the police. Shepard and her neighbor, Jane Jones, 51, had celebrated the guilty verdict of Chauvin, but things changed quickly, she said. The shooting occurred as advocates warned that while the Chauvin verdict should be hailed for holding police accountable, it does not amount to justice for George Floyd, but that far more work must be done to tackle systemic racism and police brutality. In inverted commas, as we breathe a collective sigh of relief today, a community in Columbus felt the sting of another police shooting, tweeted Ben Crump, the civil rights attorney representing for his family. In inverted commas, another child lost, another hashtag, he wrote. So there's obviously people standing around the this is a bit wrong, it says here 16-year-old. This is just insane, eh? Like, let's just see if there's anybody up around. That's cool. But, so it's a shock, man. So I'm going to stay up here. I'll just keep going on and just flow out for a little while. But these, thanks obviously to people for getting these stories out. It's got to be heard. I've done, like, I'll see if I can. Gonna try, get. It is very sad, Here you go. So for people, don't want to shock people, but she is like how innocent, beautiful, happy. I mean, obviously, that's great photo. That's image, and here she is, just doing what she does as a young girl, flipping around, popping around, having fun. And unfortunately, if you can see in here, this was the fateful moment. But I guess we should be kind of more focused on those photos, the happy times. That's just one thing I just wanted to show. Just remember, and let's not forget, man. At all, never, never. Like it's so upsetting, so upsetting. To like, what a day, what a day, what a course of events for today. Like, amazing. But you know, at least I said my bit, and she definitely won't be forgotten over this side. So I mean, what else was I saying? I was saying it's 420. It's 420 over the place. So I guess if you hear me out there and you are an advocate, roll up, spark one up, get them lighters up, and light one up for these people. And do what's right. All right. So what does the dictionary say about 420? It's a noun, informal. 420, used to refer to cannabis or to an act of smoking cannabis. In inverted commas, a 420 friendly hotel, or 20th of April, abbreviated 420 in the US, considered as an occasion for smoking or celebrating the smoking of cannabis. In inverted commas, thousands of cannabis smokers converged on Hippie Hill for the annual 420 celebration. So, yeah, I guess I'll go into a little bit. Well, obviously, I've got a few streams on this, but this is 420 2021. Um, yeah, it's pretty weird. Well, that made me think because of last year we had a lot of improvisations with the lockdown and different things going on. So we didn't really 420 2020. Nobody's really, yeah, because I'm wanting to go out to these events. But just made me think this. So it's 420 2021 though. Cannabis culture slang. There's many different reasons for people, like they say, why they come up with this number, this date. So, I mean, I'm not going to say. I know some people say some students did it. Some people say it's a time, something rather. It's a room number of these university students. So let's just not go there. Let's just glorify the uh, the culture, man, cannabis culture, and gladly happy to say that Canberra, the capital city of Australia, uh, I think it was as of February last year, they legalized. So it's complete legalization, not decriminalization, legalization of up to 50 grams per session and 2 plants, grown per person or 4 per household. Um, so that's in the in the country's capital only though. There are a couple other states and areas which have decriminalization and less harsh laws, but there are still a lot of states around this country which are very much cannabis prohibition. There's no way you'll get big. You'll get a conviction, you'll get a fine, you'll go into court, you'll have a criminal offence. So the origins in 1971, according to Wikipedia, 5 high school students in San Rafael, California, used it to 420 in connection with a plan to search an abandoned cannabis crop based on treasure map by the grower, calling themselves the Wallows. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how much truth would be in part of this, but that's pretty much it. I reckon I'll jump out of here and just say much peace to everybody. Stay up, be bright. Remember this day, Makiyah Bryant, and just, be yourself, be bright, Stay up, stay one, keep up with the knowledge, be respectful, and just stay true, man. I'll see you guys soon. Be peace always. You know what it is. Me, la me. Peace out, peace out.